Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, where we are inspiring you to tap into your power to manifest the happiness, success, and fulfillment that you desire. I am your host, Niajae, the Upper Limit Coach. I am here to dismantle your limiting beliefs and remove the blocks so you can confidently live your life's purpose, because life is meant to be abundant. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning into the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? I want to talk about goal setting, and this came up because I have a lot on my plate right now. I am currently in Orlando, Florida for the Podcast Movement Convention. It's about a 4-day convention. I am launching Abundance Box, which is my super amazing subscription box that I'm so excited about. I also have a speaking gig next week. I have clients to tend to, and of course I have to film and edit this podcast. So it really had me thinking today about goals and when to know when you have too much on your plate, when you're taking on things that are not getting you to, that big picture, and really asking yourself, is this serving, my goal and my purpose, or is this something that I may need to put on the back burner? And so when I was thinking about goal setting, there's definitely two ends of the spectrum. You have people who are not living intentionally. They're not setting goals. They're just waking up each day and just going wherever the wind blows them. And then you have people who, on the opposite end of the spectrum, are trying to do everything, and they're trying to take on everything, and they're trying to make all the money and do all the things, which is a lot of times me. But I think that balance is definitely the key. Meeting in the middle, making sure that you are being smart about your goals. So that's what we're going to dive into this episode, is SMART goals. And I know that when I'm going 180 miles per hour, a lot of times I have to take a step back and say, you know what, am I actually being productive in one specific area? Because I'm definitely an overachiever. I'm a busybody. I'm a workaholic. I'm all those things. And so making sure that I am tracking my progress to where I am being productive. So I say this often, there's a difference in being busy and productive. So ask yourself, where do you fall on that spectrum? Are you setting goals? Are you tracking your progress? Or are you biting off more than you can chew? It's really important that we evaluate where we are and we are living intentionally. I think it's really important that you set goals. Even if you are not an entrepreneur or a podcaster or a coach, it's really important that you set goals for yourself, because if we're not challenging ourselves every day, then we're just existing. And if you're listening to this podcast, I know that you're not someone that just wants to exist. We want to thrive. And I know that if you are listening to this podcast, you don't even just want to live, you want to thrive. So that is the goal, to live an abundant life. And abundant livers don't just exist. All right, so before I get into the SMART goals and the different areas of life that you want to make sure you're setting goals for, I do want to talk about one thing. It's really important that you don't attach yourself to a destination or like that final outcome. It's really important that you learn to embrace and enjoy the journey, because sometimes we set our minds and hearts on a specific goal, but maybe the universe has a different plan for you, and that journey was supposed to lead you to a different path or a different purpose, or even just develop a skill that's going to help contribute to where you are today or where you may be a year or 5 years from now. So I'll tell you a little bit about my journey when I guess like in my early adulthood, when I was gonna say when I was younger, like I'm old. But in my early adulthood, my focus was music. I was pursuing a music career and I thought I was going to be the next Rihanna. You could not tell me I was not going to be the next Rihanna. Now, I made a decision to put that music career aside, and if I look back on that goal, would I change it? Absolutely not. Those were some of the best years of my life, and everything that I learned during that journey contributes to who I am today. Me being comfortable in front of the camera is due to my music career. Me being able to edit this podcast and understand how to work audio editing software is due to my music career. So that was part of my journey, and if I attached myself to that end goal or that destination and I got hung up like, woe is me, I'm not the next Rihanna, then I wouldn't have been able to effortlessly transition to who and where I am today. And then after my music career, I opened up my second dance studio, my dance and aerial studio, and my whole entire life revolved around that. And even with that process, that business itself contributes to the entrepreneur I am today, my mindset and everything that I know when it comes to business. Now, obviously, I sold that studio to be fully remote, but would I change that goal? Would I change that situation? Absolutely not, because that journey was so transformational for me and definitely contributes to the woman I am today. So your goals shift and your values shift at times. Like things that are important to you, things that were important to me when I was doing music is completely different than what's important to me today. So a lot of times I think people say like, oh, just focus on one thing, which I don't think that's bad advice, but I think that it's important that you focus on the journey. Focus on the transformation. Focus on where this is leading you, what you're learning, who you're becoming, and really just embrace that journey, because that process is so beautiful. It's sometimes not, and I believe this is like a famous quote, it's not always the destination, but it's enjoying the journey. I may be messing up the quote. I know it's something like that. But I just wanted to say that before we really dive into setting SMART goals. All right, so let's dive in. So I actually found this really awesome resource online that has an acronym for SMART goals. So S stands for significant. One of the things that I do with my coaching clients is reverse engineer. I ask them, what is your end goal? What is your end goal? What is your best case scenario? What is that dream life or that abundant life for you? What does that look like? Where are you? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? Maybe what does it taste like? I was talking about what my dream life tastes like, and it tastes like truffles. It tastes like truffles. So, ask yourself, what is my best case scenario? And then working backwards. So the reverse engineering part is working backwards. What do I need to achieve that big picture? And then start to break the steps down. So one of the things that you really want to focus on when setting goals is your why. And that's the significant part of it. What is your why? Why do you want this life? Why will this be amazing? Is it going to provide a better life for your family? Is it going to make you happy? Are you making an impact? Like, what is your why? Really understanding what your why is really powerful, because when things get hard, because they will get hard, it gives you that fire to keep going. If you don't have a why, if you're not clear on your why, when things get hard, you're going to throw in the towel. So your why has to be powerful enough. It has to be significant enough to keep you going when things get difficult. So the M stands for measurable. You want to make sure you are breaking your goals down into milestones so you can celebrate the micro and macro wins. Now, you know I'm really honest and transparent with you guys, so I will share one of my goals with you. One of my goals is to have 500 subscribers for Abundance Box. Now, what I did was I broke this down into milestones. My first milestone is 100 subscribers. My second milestone is 250, and then my goal is 500. So if I were to just say, okay, I want 500 subscribers, and I didn't break it down into milestones, in my first 10, I may feel like, oh my goodness, I have such a long way to go. So instead of having this long, ridiculous road in front of me, I'm breaking it down so when I get to 100, I'm gonna celebrate, because you know what? It's worthy of celebrating, and it's going to light that fire to cross the next milestone. So there's a really silly saying, and I feel like I mentioned this in a previous episode: how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's a really silly saying because who eats elephant? But you want to make sure you are breaking your goal down into bite-sized chunks. So that was the easiest way for me to break it down. So when I hit 100 subscribers, I am going to celebrate, and I love celebrating. So any excuse to celebrate. And then the next one is 250, and then the next one is 500. So how can you chunk down your goal, especially if you're setting a really, really high goal for yourself? How can you chunk it down, and how can you celebrate yourself? Now, there's different ways, and it doesn't have to be like a huge celebration. You can pour yourself a glass of wine, cheers your bestie or your partner, or maybe buy yourself something nice, like treat yourself to a dinner, buy yourself a new pair of shoes. I always like the shoe option. But find out what motivates you and make sure you are celebrating you. That's so important and so powerful. Chunking down your goals and celebrating at every milestone. Okay, so the next one is A, and that is for action-oriented. So making sure that you are setting goals that you can set specific actions for. So I know if I use the goal that I just mentioned, I know the action steps to get more subscribers. So advertising, marketing, stuff like that. So ask yourself, what is your goal, and what are the specific action steps that you can take to get to that goal? And there's something really powerful that Grant Cardone said about action. He says there's 4 actions. There's no action, the right action, the wrong action, and then a massive action. So I may have said that out of order. So no action, the wrong action, the right action, and then a massive action. So right and wrong obviously is subjective, but I think that in my opinion, the wrong action would be something that doesn't contribute to your goal. So asking yourself, am I on that hamster wheel to where I'm going, but I'm not actually moving forward? So there's definitely a difference in being busy and being productive. So if you're taking on, small tasks that are not really getting you to your goal, maybe you can outsource, maybe you could delegate, or maybe you can just cut them completely out of your schedule. And this is where living intentionally comes into play, making sure that the things that you're doing is getting you closer to your goals. Now, not saying that every single day you should be like a robot just constantly working, because obviously self-care, pleasure, we'll get to that later, but I just want to make sure that people don't misunderstand my message and say like you should be working towards a goal 24/7 and like work and don't enjoy life, because you guys know I enjoy life. I love sipping some mimosas on my rooftop. So definitely enjoy life, but when it comes to setting goals, you want to make sure that the actions that you're taking are getting you closer to your goals. Sending out a bunch of emails when you could probably outsource that action, is that a task that is really getting you closer to your goals? And that was just a random example off the top of my head, but ask yourself, is this getting me closer to my goals? So next one is R, which is rewarding. Now, I just spoke about celebrating you, but I want to take this R and actually shift gears more towards purpose. So one of the episodes I talked about hedonic happiness and eudaimonic happiness. So one, you're serving, and one, it's all about like self and pleasure. So for rewarding, I think this is where serving comes into play. You can definitely celebrate you because you made some money, you know, achieved a goal, and you, but it's really important that you find that balance between the two, and it's rewarding in a sense to where you feel fulfilled because you are serving. So that's really, really important. It's really, really important, which is why I think that a lot of like millionaires or really wealthy people sometimes are unhappy because, you know, they attach their goals to like a monetary value, or like, I want this big house, I want this fancy car, you know, I want all the things, but then it feels empty because they're not serving. They're not making an impact in the world. They bought all these nice things for them because they thought it would make them feel better, but they're not actually doing anything to make a difference in the world and serve and really live their purpose. So rewarding, I think, is more of a mental, emotional feeling when you know that your goal is attached to serving and really helping people and having a voice and making an impact in the world. So ask yourself, like, your why. Is it just all about you, or is it also about serving? And I personally think that you have to find that happy medium, that balance between the two, because if you only serve, you're going to get depleted. You know, I believe that life is abundant and we are meant to have abundant lives. So we should have the nice things. We should have the big house and the fancy car and all the shoes. But at the same time, let me rephrase that. And at the same time, we should be serving and making an impact and doing something to make this world a better place. So that's what I feel. I feel like that balance in between the two, that happy medium between those two things. What if you could have abundance delivered to your front door? Abundance Hack presents Abundance Box, the monthly subscription box that helps you cleanse energy, raise your vibrations, and tap into abundance with goodies like crystals, sage, essential oils, and more. Go to abundancehack.com/box for more information, because life is meant to be abundant. T is for trackable. So this is really, really, really important. And this is what I mean about like being on that hamster wheel and measuring your success. There's sometimes we're working, and are we really getting anywhere? You're on that hamster wheel, but you're not actually moving forward. And sometimes I get caught up in this. Like, I feel like I'm working so much every single day, but I'm like, am I really getting anywhere? It's really important that you set trackable goals. And I think that there's a lot of people, entrepreneurs, especially like network marketers, sometimes they're making all the calls and all the emails and they're doing all these things. And if you really track the amount of hours that you're putting in, you basically quit a 9-to-5 job to work 80 hours a week versus your 40. And if you calculate how many hours you put into that, you're probably making less than minimum wage. And I'm not saying everyone, and I don't mean to generalize, but really tracking how much time you're putting towards your business or your coaching or your programs, because if you're not tracking it, you could be putting in way more hours than what you're getting back in return. So it's really important that you track your goals. And one thing, so I'm here for this conference, it's a little off topic, but one thing that I love about conventions is it puts things into perspective for me. So I have been a guest on other people's podcasts, probably over 30 podcasts in the last couple of months. And I'm just like, I'm doing all these podcasts, you know, and I had to ask myself, like, am I really getting anything out of it? And I love being on podcasts, so I'm not saying I only do them to get something out of it, but, you know, you have to look at your activities, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you have to look at your activities in like the ROI, you know? So today there was someone that was on stage talking about how they did 1,200 podcasts. So it's really great to surround yourself with go-getters and people that are really going for their goals, because over here I'm like, 30 podcasts, I'm doing so many podcasts, and then this person's over here like, well, I did 1,200. Obviously in a longer length of time, but still, I love conferences so much because it puts things into perspective for me. And before I get into the next thing that I want to mention about goals, I do want to say, really powerful paradigm shift I had today. One of the keynote speakers said something that I think is really, really, really powerful, Eminem. So I want you to like listen closely to this. A lot of people say surround yourself with like-minded people. The thing about like-minded people is they are where you are. And so, or typically they're where you are. You want to surround yourself with people that may be a little further along than you, so they can help you grow. Because if you're only around like-minded people, you can only see things from that point of view. But if you surround yourself with people that are a little further along, they're going to push you. They should inspire you. There's so many quotes about this, but I think that's a really powerful thing. So instead of striving to find like-minded people, strive to find people that are going to help you grow. Does that make sense? Help you grow. And if you're around people that think just like you or similarly, then they could be enabling behavior that you have that may be keeping you where you are. Are you like, I really want you to let that set in. So if you have friends that also feel like you do, and you're like, girl, I'm tired. I just did 30 podcasts in, you know, the last few months. And they're like, that's a lot. Oh my goodness. Like I'd imagine that's, you know, that's a lot of work. But if you surround yourself with people that are a little further along, then they're like 30 podcasts. Well, I just did 80, not to compare in a negative way, but like to motivate you, to light that fire under your ass for you to be like, you know what? Like, let me go do 30 more. Let me go do 60 more, because there are people out there that are pushing harder. And so surrounding yourself with people that are only like-minded is going to keep you where you are at the pace that you are at, versus being with people that are going to help you grow maybe a little bit faster. Now, I'm not saying, you know, grow too fast, because obviously I believe in divine timing, but I also believe in surrounding yourself with people that are going to push you, motivate you, inspire you, light that fire under your ass so you get moving. You know what I mean? So you're taking that massive action. So I hope that made sense. Now, I'm not saying go ditch your friends of like-minded people. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying put yourself in situations to where it's going to push you and challenge you to go faster, further than what you thought you were capable of. Because that's what I'm saying about this convention, just putting things into perspective, because I'm like, I'm doing 2 podcasts a week and this is a lot of work, but there's people that are doing podcast episodes every single day. So it helps put things into perspective when you surround yourself with other people that are going hard for their goals. Now, obviously, we all have different strengths and talents and goals and purposes in life, but overall, M&Ms, I'm just saying surround yourself with people that are going to challenge you, inspire you, motivate you, push you to be the best version of you that you can be, to live to your full potential. You never know what you are capable of until you put yourself in a challenging situation. So I hope that made sense. Now I want to dive into areas of life that you want to make sure you're setting goals for. And if you haven't listened to my podcast episode about life buckets, definitely go check that out. It's a really powerful one. And you want to make sure that you are focusing on the different buckets in life. So the first one is career. Are you setting goals in your career? I feel like career is the most typical one. People typically set goals for their career, for their business. However, even in 9-to-5 situations, you still could set goals. Like, you can set goals to move up. You can set goals to, gain bonuses. Obviously, everyone's situation is going to be different. You can set goals to, get positive feedback. If it isn't, a situation where you can get bonuses. I want to receive, 10 positive feedbacks from customers. I want to make sure I put a smile on this many customers' faces. I think setting goals for ourselves keeps us on our toes, and it's going to keep you motivated in life. So obviously in business owners and entrepreneurs always setting goals. So that's kind of a given. So the next area is financial, which is very similar to career, but setting financial goals. Now, I have a lot of feelings around setting financial goals, especially because I'm in the coaching business and there's so many like, make 100K in 90 days. One of the things that I feel about setting financial goals is that a lot of people are attaching so much of their self-worth to financial and monetary goals. And I just think that it's important that you understand, like, money is just a tool. Money is just a tool to gain you the things that you want in life. So don't put as much emphasis on the actual money amount. One of the first things that I like to say when people are like, oh, I made all this money, my question is, but are you happy? But are you happy? Do you have everything that you need to feel fulfilled and joyful and grateful every single day? So definitely set financial goals. I have financial goals, obviously, but don't attach your worth to a monetary goal. And again, really focus on, are you happy? So that's my feeling on financial goals. The next one is education. You never, ever, ever want to stop learning. I heard something really powerful today. Oh my goodness. So I'm at a convention and I heard a lot of powerful things, but it was something about like, just keep learning basically. You want to keep learning no matter how old you are, and the person that thinks they know everything can never learn anything else. You don't want to be that person, because we learn something new every single day. So if you are out of school and you're settled in your career, your business, you can still take up something new, learn a new language, take up a instrument. It helps our brain function to constantly learn new things. So that's really, really important. Even if you're not into books, I read a lot. I read a lot of business books, and I'm totally into reading business books and mindset type stuff. But if you're not into that, you can still find ways to learn something new. There's this big, beautiful, amazing world out here with tons of different people and cultures and just so much that we can consume and stretch our brains to the limit. So really making sure you are continuing your education. Okay, so the next thing is family. Are you setting goals in your family? So I don't have any children, but my fur babies are basically my family, and I make sure that I take them for walks by the water. And, I set goals with that. I make sure I reach out to my family and my siblings, my mom. So making sure that you set family goals. And I would probably put like a romantic partner, husband, wife, in that, like date nights. Okay, so I'm single, but if you are in a relationship, date nights, highly, highly, highly recommend date nights. If you don't have a goal for setting date nights, get on top of that. All right, the next one is artistic. So I think this kind of goes in line with the education. Still challenging yourself artistically. So do you have some type of artistic hobby? Bowling, fishing, dancing, take dance lessons, salsa lessons, whatever the case may be. It's really important and good for our mental stimulation to challenge ourselves artistically. Maybe you paint. Actually, I love painting. I'm not a good painter, but it's a creative outlet. It's a expression, and you know, it may look a hot mess, but just like scribbling some stuff with some paint on a canvas has definitely helped like express some of my feelings and emotions artistically. The next one is attitude. All right, let me get through these a lot faster because I feel like some of them are kind of similar, but you do want to just think about these different areas in life. So attitude, are you a good person? Are you friendly? Are you smiling at people when you walk past them? Do people like being around you? So I think setting goals for your attitude is really, really important. Gratitude, extremely important. Are you waking up every morning in a state of gratitude? And when you go to sleep at night, are you in a state of gratitude? And if you're not, that's a really powerful goal. Gratitude shifts everything, and it's the fastest way to tap into manifestation. So gratitude is huge. Okay, next one is physical. Now, I am a huge believer in taking care of your body. So are you working out? Even if you feel like you're fit or you're comfortable with your weight, do you have some type of physical goal? Are you working out, you know, multiple times throughout the week? Do you have a really healthy regimen? I'm huge into self-development, excuse me. I'm huge into self-care and setting physical goals, eating clean. That is important, you guys, because if you don't feel good, you're not going to do good with any of your goals. So making sure you feel good is imperative. The next one is pleasure. So making sure you're taking time for you. So this goes into self-care a little bit as well, but checking in. Am I having fun? Am I doing things I enjoy? Am I really spending time, you know, on my hobbies? There's a lot of times people tend to get into like relationships or marriages and they lose their identity because they've like morphed or molded into their partner. But it's important that you focus on what makes you happy as an individual. What are things that you like to do? What are things that fill your cup? And make sure you make time to do them. I just started back doing aerials and it's been amazing. I'm like, why did I ever stop? Because I love doing this. So always make sure you are making time to do the things that you enjoy. Okay, so last but definitely not least is public service. How are you giving back? Obviously, I talk about purpose all the time. If you listen to this podcast, then you definitely know that I feel purpose is really important in our lives, and this goes back into serving. So how are you serving? How are you giving back? And how are you making an impact? And if you're not, I mean, it could be something so simple as taking, you know, food to a homeless shelter or donating to a charity, like whatever it is. If you're not doing something, you know, on a bigger scale, I see this podcast as a form of serving because I am inspiring people to ditch the excuses and go after their best case scenario, their abundant life. And I don't make money off of doing this. I do this because I want to see as many people thriving as possible. So how are you giving back? How are you making an impact? How are you, in your way, making this world a better place? So that's my message, M&Ms. I would absolutely love to hear from you. It's important that you provide feedback so I can continue to create content that you find valuable. And the only way I can do that is if you let me know what you find valuable. So I'm here in Orlando for a few more days and I'm going to learn all of the ticks. Oh my goodness, tips and tricks. Tips and tricks. I'm doing a blooper reel at the end of this one because I have convention brain today, you guys, so bear with me, and I'm not editing this out. But I am at this convention learning all of the tips and tricks so I can provide a really amazing podcast for you. I love doing this. I hope you love listening to it. And I am grateful for you guys listening to this podcast. Or I should say show, because obviously it's a show as well. We are also video, so if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or iHeartRadio, definitely check out the video so you can see where I am, because as I explained in a previous episode, it's always shot guerrilla style, meaning I'm in a different location every time I film. So definitely check out the video, see where I'm at. All right, M&Ms, until next time, love and light. That was a little bit of a tongue twister. Subscription box, abundance box. Ugh. I'm gonna put bloopers at the end of this. Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.